First, I said we needed an independent board to provide oversight and accountability for how and where this money is spent at every step of the way. Second, I said we can't help banks on Wall Street without helping the millions of innocent homeowners who are struggling to stay in their homes. They deserve a plan too. Third, I said I would not allow this plan to become a welfare program for the Wall Street executives whose greed and irresponsibility got us into this mess in the first place. And finally, I said that if American taxpayers are financing this solution, then you should be treated like investors. You should get every penny of your tax dollars back once this economy recovers. That's only fair. That's only right. Now, this last part about taxpayers getting their money back, this is important because it's been the most misunderstood and poorly communicated aspect of this entire plan. I mean, when it's called a bailout, nobody's in favor of a bailout, but this is not a plan to just hand over $700 billion of your money to a few banks on Wall Street. If this is executed the right way, then the government will temporarily purchase the bad assets of our financial institutions so that they can start lending again, and then sell those troubled assets once the market settles down and the economy recovers. In other words, if this is managed correctly, we will hopefully get most or all of our money back, possibly even turn a profit on the government's investment, every penny of which will go directly back to you, the investor, or will be going into drawing down on our national debt. And if we do have losses, I've proposed to institute a financial stability fee on the entire financial services industry so that Wall Street foots the bill, not the American taxpayer. I've also said that if I'm president, I will review the entire plan on the day I take office to make sure that it is working to save our economy and that you are getting your money back. So that is why I believe it is important to move swiftly in Congress. But understand, even with all these taxpayer protections, I know that this plan is not perfect and it's not foolproof. No matter how well we manage the government's investments under this plan, we're still putting taxpayer dollars at risk. And I know that there are Democrats and Republicans in Congress who have legitimate concerns about this. I know there are many Americans who share these concerns. What I also know is we can't afford not to act. So both parties who are close to accepting this plan, over the next few hours and the next few days, should seek out any new ideas that might get this done, that might make the proposal better. For example, this morning I proposed one such idea that might increase bipartisan support for the plan and shore up our economy at the same time, and that's expand federal deposit insurance for families and small businesses across America who have invested their money in our banks. You know, the majority, and this probably doesn't apply to college students, but the majority of American families should rest assured that the deposits they have in our banks of up to $100,000 are still guaranteed by the federal government. Up to $100,000 in a bank, your money is safe. And that guarantee is more than adequate for most families and certainly most college students. But it's insufficient for many small businesses to meet their payroll or buy their supplies and create new jobs. The current insurance limit of $100,000 was set 28 years ago. It's not been adjusted for inflation. So I proposed raising this insurance, the FDIC limit, to $250,000, a step that would boost small businesses and make our banking system more secure and help restore confidence by reassuring families that their money is safe. Now that's just one idea. If there are others that can help shore up the support for this plan and shore up our economy, I encourage all parties, Democrats and Republicans, to offer them. But we must act. and we must act now. We can't have another day like yesterday. We can't risk another week or another month where American businesses are afraid to extend credit and lend money. That has an impact on housing right here in Nevada. That has an impact on the small business owner who's got to make payroll. And if he can't make payroll on Friday, he may lay you off on Monday. And if he lays you off on Monday, that means that you may not be able to make your payments to somebody that you just bought something from. And it ripples throughout the economy. And suddenly construction workers are laid off. And suddenly people who were selling furniture, they're not selling furniture anymore. And suddenly retail sales drop. We cannot afford that. That's not an option for this country. For the rest of the day, for the rest of today, and as long as it takes, I'll continue to reach out to leaders in both parties and do whatever I can to help secure the plan. This morning I talked to President Bush. I talked to Senator Harry Reid, the majority leader. Oh yeah, I forgot, he happens to come from Nevada. To the Democrats and Republicans who opposed this plan yesterday, I say, step up to the plate. Do what's right for this country. And to all Americans, I say this: if and when I am President of the United States, this rescue plan will not be the end of what we do to strengthen our economy. It will only be the beginning. Because we will still have to address many of the underlying weaknesses in the economy that have hit families here in Reno and all across this country and hit them hard long before the crisis hit Wall Street. Now, people have asked whether the size of this plan, together with the weakening economy, means that the next president will have to scale back his agenda and some of his proposals. And the answer is both yes and no. With less money flowing into the Treasury, it is likely that some useful programs or policies that I've proposed on the campaign trail may need to be delayed. And I've said that as president, I will go through the federal budget line by line, eliminating programs that no longer work, making the ones that do work better and cost less. Because we can't keep on loading up mountains and mountains of debt for the next generation, for you to pay. That is not the way America's supposed to be, running up a credit card on the next generation. But there are certain investments in our future that we cannot delay, precisely because our economy is in turmoil. You can always put off giving your house a new paint job, renovating the kitchen, get some new curtains. But when your roof is crumbling, when your heater goes out, when you got termites in the house, you realize you've got to deal with those things now, because those are long-term investments that will help determine the value of your house in the future. You need to make those changes right away. That's the situation in our economy. We got to put away getting new curtains, but we still need a new roof and a new boiler. And I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get out my equipment and start putting a new roof and a new boiler in the American economy. We can't wait to help Americans keep up with rising costs and shrinking paychecks by giving our workers the same old deal that they've been getting the last 8 years. We can't afford that. We need a new deal for the American people. And that is that we are going to cut taxes, not for companies that are shipping jobs overseas, not for big corporate CEOs. We're going to cut taxes for you. We can't wait. We can't wait to relieve the burden of crushing healthcare costs on families and on businesses, our entire economy. We can't wait to create millions of new jobs by rebuilding our roads and our bridges and investing in the renewable sources of energy that will stop us from sending billions of dollars a year to tyrants and dictators for their oil. We can't wait to educate the next generation of Americans with the skills and knowledge they need to compete with any workers anywhere in the world. These are priorities we cannot delay. So as soon as we pass this rescue plan, We need to move with the same sense of urgency to rescue the families on Main Street who are struggling every day to pay their bills and keep their jobs. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We need to pass an economic stimulus plan that will help folks cope with rising food and gas prices. Put immediately more money into the pockets of workers who are having a tough time. Save 1 million jobs by rebuilding our schools and our roads. Help states and cities avoid drastic budget cuts and tax increases. A plan that would extend expiring unemployment benefits for those Americans who've lost their jobs and are trying hard but haven't been able to find a new one yet. Making sure that we've got enough resources so that for those who are looking at a winter and don't know how they're going to afford the home heating oil, that they're going to be able to stay warm. Now, beyond this immediate stimulus that I've called on both parties and the president to pass, we need an economic agenda to restore opportunity for Americans and prosperity to America. We need policies that will grow this economy from Main Street to Wall Street and everywhere in between, so that the 21st century is another American century. So that we're not borrowing debt from China and buying oil from Saudi Arabia. So the jobs of the future don't go to better educated workers in India, and the cars of the future aren't made in Japan. So that we can leave a legacy of greater opportunity to our children and their children. That is how we will emerge from this crisis stronger and more prosperous than we were before. And that's what I intend to do as President of the United States. So, let me be specific. I will begin by reforming our tax code, so it doesn't reward the lobbyists who wrote it, but the American workers and small businesses who deserve it. I will eliminate capital gains taxes for small businesses and startups so that we can grow our economy and create the high-wage, high-tech jobs of tomorrow. I will cut taxes for 95% of all workers and their families. And if you make less than $250,000 a year, if you make less than $250,000 a year, show your hands. Show your hands. All right, that means you will not see one single dime of tax increases. Not one single dime. Because in an economy like this, the last thing we need to do is raise taxes on the middle class. I will reform our health care system to relieve families, businesses, and the entire economy from the crushing costs of health care. We're going to invest in new technology and preventive care. If you've got health care, my plan will lower your premiums. If you don't, you'll be able to get the same kind of coverage that members of Congress give themselves. And because I remember what it's like watching a mother die of cancer and have to be on the phone while she's struggling with her illness, arguing with insurance companies because they're saying there's a pre-existing condition and we don't have to pay your treatment. I will make sure that insurance companies stop discriminating against those who are sick and need care the most. To create new jobs, I'll invest in rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, our roads, our schools, our bridges, broadband lines that reach into rural communities so everybody's plugged into the internet, a new electricity grid so we can get new power to places that need it. And I'm going to create the jobs of the future by transforming our energy economy. We're going to tap natural gas reserves. We'll invest in making the coal that we have clean. We can find ways to safely harness nuclear power with new technology. But what we need to do is also make sure that we're helping our auto companies retool so that the fuel-efficient cars of the future are built right here in the United States, not in South Korea, not in Japan, but here in the U.S. I'll make it easier for the American people to afford these new cars. And I'm going to invest $150 billion over the next decade in affordable, renewable sources of energy. Wind power, solar power, the next generation of biofuels. Investments that lead to new industries and 5 million new jobs that pay well and can't be outsourced. Imagine if we open up those old factories now making wind turbines or making solar panels. Imagine if we hire young people in inner cities and rural areas to get to work weatherizing buildings so that they're more energy efficient. Imagine if we go to farms that have been struggling for years and say, grow switchgrass that can create new biofuels. Not only can we end our dependence on Middle Eastern oil in 10 years, but we can also finally deal with the critical issue of global warming, because Nevada, you're hot enough. You don't want to be hotter. We are going to solve this problem in this generation. And by the way, if people tell you we can't afford these things, if they tell you we can't afford to rebuild America and put Americans back to work, you just remind them we are spending $10 billion a month in Iraq. They've got a $79 billion surplus. If we can spend $10 billion in Iraq, we can spend it right here in Nevada, right here in Reno, putting people back to work. When I'm president, if I have that honor, I will meet our moral obligation to provide every child a world-class education. From the day that child is born till the day that child graduates from college. Because it will take nothing less to compete in the global economy. That means I'll invest in early childhood education. I'll recruit an army of new teachers. We will pay them higher salaries. And we will give them more support. And in exchange, I will ask for higher standards and more accountability. And we will send a message to parents. Parents, you've got to parent too. You've got to turn off the TV set and put away the video games of your kids and instill a thirst for knowledge, because that's how we're going to move America.